Alrighty, everybody. I think everything's working. Happy Thursday. Good to shine. Today, we are doing gouache paints. It's my second try. So, let's hope it goes better than last time, which we did this. And it looks great from the distance and on my tiny screen. But if you look at it closely, and you compare it to my reference, it nowhere near hits like the mark of what I wanted. And I think I was approaching it a little too much like a watercolor artist. And yeah, I think that's what happened, and it didn't work out quite how I wanted it to. So today, I'm hoping to redeem myself by doing another gouache painting. I've been watching a lot more people on YouTube, and I think what I need to do is work more like dark to light rather than light to dark, which is the way you do it with watercolors. And I'm thinking it's gonna help because I was having a hard time kind of getting things to layer up the way I wanted them to. And I also think I was a little too timid with them, and I washed like, not so, I didn't wash, I like thinned out my paints too much with water. And another thing I did that I learned better to do is with the gouache paints, I have 2 jars of water. Which one? One is for cleaning your brush, and then I got this one, which I can use to thin out my paints. That way you don't end up with muddy colors. And I also was using like the tiny palette that came with it. And if you guys watch me watercolor paint, you'll know that I'm used to like a ginormous palette. And so this is just like way too small for me. So I have this old watercolor palette that I used back when I first got into watercolors before I got a nicer one. And I think I'm going to kind of convert it into my gouache palette. And so yeah, guys, we have to figure out what we're gonna paint. Also, I'm over at my other art desk and not at my bigger PC. So if you notice any troubles with the mic or something doesn't look right or sound right, let me know. This setup's a little bit different, and so it might need some refining. Okay, so I sprayed these. They still look good. I sprayed them. I got like this spray that keeps them wet. I know I'm gonna get my sleeve in paint today. I try really hard not to. And they seem like they stayed nice and wet. It's only been, I think I did some painting on this Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. So yeah, it hasn't been that long since I sprayed these. But I'm thinking, so you don't have to keep your gouache paints wet from what I was learning. You can also have them dry out, but I heard it's like easier if they're wet. But part of me is thinking, what if I put my favorite colors, like the ones I mostly reach for, like certain reds or blues, and I put it on this palette, and then I can let them dry, and then kind of work with like the 2 palettes together if I want. Because I also hated having to always reach back into here whenever I wanted to get a color. And so it'd be nice to have something that felt a little more similar to my regular watercolor palette. So I think what I'm gonna do is put some out, like on this one. Try aside, I think I'm gonna do the 2 reds, these 2 blues, these 2 yellows, and then possibly a green, which is very similar to my watercolor palette. And I'm gonna let those dry. I feel like this one color here, this is like the black. For some reason it's a lot thicker than the other ones. So I have to make sure I make that one a bit more wet. That's what we're gonna do, guys. I think what we're gonna paint, I was thinking about like, what do we want to paint? Something that's gonna be easier. I need to choose something that has a little less complicated of light sources, like this one's way over the top. And so we had to do that. But make sure everything's ready here. We're gonna remedy that because we're gonna choose a simple one today. sprayy. This is still really, really sticky. A little bit weird. I don't usually use black paint ever, so I don't really care if this one's a little broken. I prefer to use like a mixture of colors. I like it when things stay vibrant. Alright. Question is, I'm trying to remember how I used to do this when I had this as my old palette. Do I put them in the smaller sections, or should I use the bigger ones? I mean, or I could use these. Quite smaller is probably better. So there's still some old watercolor paint stuck in there. Just clean it out. It's kind of nostalgic pulling out this old palette. It doesn't have like a lid, so it kind of is not fantabulous. My bigger one I actually got because it's just like my watercolor teacher's one. I really liked her palette. I was like, someday when I'm a professional artist, I'll get one. I was like, well, I'm not gonna wait till then. I'm gonna get one now. I'm trying to remember. I think I got it at Blick. Yeah, I think that's where I got it. Alright, cleaned palette. We're ready to go. I want to do reds, yellows, blues, or yellows, reds, blues. I think I'm gonna do yellow. Yeah, these still seem pretty good. Gonna have to be a ton. Just to get me going. But yeah, anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about what reference we're gonna do. I think I might paint a duck. I know that's shocking. I have a picture of one of our ducks that we could. Or I was also thinking a landscape could be interesting. I have not done landscape in a hot minute. This one is a really nice. Somebody was saying that it needs to be like melted ice cream. So. Mostly melted ice cream. Then I think I was gonna do probably this red. They're really, really bright. It's interesting watching the paints dry at different rates. Because this yellow was a lot more like wet than this one, and I haven't sprayed more one than the other with water. Just different pigments react differently. If I don't end up with paint on me, it's gonna be a miracle. I just have a tendency to spill things. I've seen a lot of people doing like Studio Ghibli style landscapes with gouache because you can kind of like layer it up. And I've seen most of the techniques, even like digital, as you work from dark to light when you're doing those. I was like, that would be kind of fun. But I'm not like the kind of person where I like to replicate a style 100%. I like to borrow like inspiration or technique, but I don't really want to directly create something that looks straight out of Studio Ghibli's films. But I don't think I'd be able to anyway. I'm not very good at copying people. Things always seem to look. They have that. They have that touch to it where I know that I made it. I want to do. I want to put the dark blue next to that red. I have to drop these. I have like a really nice pack of these pencils that come in like different hardnesses, so darker or lighter. And if you look inside, the one that I've used the most is like the lightest because it's like my watercolor pencil. So I want my line work to be really. Oh, here it is. I even have it out. You can see this one gets the most use. I've never even used this one actually. It's like brand new. Yeah, this is a nice graphite pencil set. I forget. I think I got it on Amazon. If you guys are ever looking for some just standard nice graphite pencils, these are very nice. Yesterday, no. Monday? One of these days I was cleaning up this art desk over here and I was kind of like sorting out my watercolors because I wanted to pull out some paper and cut it down so that I could use it to make like smaller ones, and I made it was sitting here. Oh, here it is. I cut out like different like size paper and this is a nice square I made. But when I was doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many watercolor paintings that I never framed, and I really need to put some frames for some of them and possibly give them away. Because I don't like some of them I don't think like my mom wants, and I don't really want them personally. Just because I have like other artwork in my room already. And so I'm like, I need to find some family members or friends who will take them off of me. But I don't want to be like, here, take this. I want them to be like, oh, I like that one, and then I'll give it to them. I don't want someone to take something just because I feel like they have to. Should I pull out some white? I'm gonna talk about pulling out green. I feel like I like this green. Like emerald green. But maybe I should pull out the more neutral one. We could do a green and then some white, I think. Probably be a good idea. Yeah, this one feels pretty good. This is so satisfying. I don't know why. I like organizing, so kind of thing I would. I can't wait till I'm like fully used to like the workflow with these, and it doesn't take as much energy for me to kind of like get into the more of the painting side of it rather than the like trying to like battle with the medium. We'll get there. We'll get there. Well, this one's really wait for it to stop flipping. It's the forbidden vanilla ice cream. Oops, I spilled it. Okay. We did it. I know I'm gonna spill some of this nice paper I have. Do not want to do that. Alrighty. Let's give this palette a little spritz. It's a wee bit dry on some of them. Okay. So we need to choose. Throw this up for now before I drop something in it. I need to choose a reference. And pull up my phone. Thinking we have a square paper, so I have to keep that. Oops. That is me. I need to make sure that whatever I choose is like composition gonna fit on this square and look decent. There's me making a mess. Okay. Let me see if they have a good one of any or one jug. I know I took one of her. How long ago was that? Although she's pretty complicated, like color wise. It's a cute picture. Look at the lovely light that's like bouncing up underneath her belly. It's light bouncing off her little orange flippers. Love that. I have intentions to paint this at some point. Oh, but I don't know if I'm ready to tackle that now because it is a little bit complicated with all her feather color variations. We could try painting like a sunset. I took a lovely sunset picture. It was yesterday or the day before. It was so pretty. This guys. So pretty. Oh, we are working in a square. Let me see what else I have. I should have 2 sunset photos. This one was nice too. That was pretty. Some snow pictures. I don't want to think about snow. I want to think about. Oh my gosh, it's so hard deciding on a reference. I did take a lot of pictures when I was on a trip recently. How's another sunset? I don't want to be that basic. Oh, we could do, I could crop this into a square. That would be kind of cool. It'd be fairly simple too. Let's do this, guys. Let me crop it. I'm not used to using... I'm not used to using Google Photos. That's probably about a good crop for our square. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Let's save this copy. Alright. We've got our photo. Let me just sit up properly so I don't blow out my knees. I have like a yoga mat I'm sitting on. But I have a tendency to end up sitting on my knees. It is not good. Alright. I feel like I don't want to get too crazy on. Doesn't exactly go. Let's just block out the major shapes. I'm in like focus mode. when I get quiet. I feel like I need an overlay where it's like it's like a librarian like hushing or something. It's like Emma's sketching. She's using 100% of her brain cells. We still need to do some portraits on stream. Maybe next week we could do that. I don't know. I feel like I'm really like into doing the gouache right now. But I don't want to forget about it because I feel like we can layer paint here, like in this section, to like do like the textured details on this. Like that would be kind of fun. Alright, there's a large gap between like here and here. This one's really cut over. Get this out as we go. Almost looks like this one turns my eraser. I had it. Oh, here it is. It's in with the tape. It's like it turns back towards the top here. It's like kind of like how I use the oils. We can use like lighter blue paint to kind of like paint out the little, like my teacher used to call them sky holes, but it's like the negative spaces in the branches and stuff. But we're not gonna like perfectly draw out every little, you know, little spot we're gonna do it. This is our observation, not 100% accurate. Leaf for leaf of what the tree is like. Otherwise, you guys could just use the photo. And it'd be 100% accurate. That's nice. Actually comes out further than you think. I'm just kind of using angles to measure out where like the points of other things land. I don't know if this is like 100% the proper way to do it. That's how I do it. For now anyway. I feel like my techniques are always evolving. I like to watch a lot of different artists on YouTube, whether they're portrait artists or watercolor artists, gouache artists, like you name it, or just digital. And so I pick up things from people everywhere. We don't want to rush the sketch too much, but I also want to spend forever on it. Try and not spend too much of our time. We don't want to be hasty. This one comes out. And then I think we made this one a little bit too. I think I made this one down here a little bit too tall. So it just barely touches in between here. We could even separate it if we wanted. We might do later. And we're filling in the blue. We have this negative space in here. And then down pretty low, these bottom branches. Alright, might take that down. Yeah, it needs to be more here. Alright, I think we're ready to go with the paints. As far as the clouds, like we have slight clouds in here, I'm just going to be really subtle with those. I'm not going to draw them in. I'm just going to paint them in later. I feel like this is a good easy project to start. Okay. It's always like, there we go. Here's a laser for you guys to see. A little bit. There we go. You know, it's kind of nice. I can see the the mirrored version. Kind of see what I got wrong. I think I got some of the angles here a little bit off. I want to manage to this needs to be a little bit thinner. Just further in the distance. Alright, that seems better. I made this way too far. Put space here. And then this needs a little higher. Alright. Fix it. I think we should just probably get started on it. Because we've got an hour 30 left. And you know, guys, I'm a bit of a slow painter since I'm just learning how to use these. We got a general reference. Now, we need to choose. Do I do the background first? Or do we treat this like an oil painting? Like, we're gonna find out. We're gonna play around. I think what I'm gonna do is like tone everything to like the warm shade. Kind of like, you know how you like tone an oil canvas? I think I'm gonna do that. Which brush do I want to use? I came with two other brushes I haven't used. I have a tendency to use bigger brushes. I just like them better. It keeps me from getting too detailed. Alright, let's use our newly. What do I want to line this? I'm gonna put you guys on the left. Put you. me see how much of you guys can see here. I want to make sure you can see my colors as I mix them. Might angle this a little bit different. I think we can angle this a little bit because I'm kind of sitting at an angle anyway. That's probably good for that. Dirty water, clean water. Let's do this. Alright, so warm shade, I think we're probably looking at toning it with something like this. Like cadmium yellow is nice. I know I said I was going to be less timid, but here I am toning it with some very timid colors. Very washed out. But I swear, we're gonna get more brave in a bit. Got a little more in there. I should probably also pull out the paper is buckling. I need to pull out my cork board and put the paper on it. That's alright. We can do that while it dries. It needs to be properly dry before we do the falling layers, which I think I also needed to be more patient with last time. I was not being patient enough, and I noticed that you cannot layer them on if it is way too wet. They're just gonna make each other. And I need to get a smaller one, guys. Right now I just have this normal one. Look for one like a thrift store. I'm gonna align this for you guys to see. You know, it's late now. I'm thinking I should have figured this out before I start a stream. But here we are. I did draw some lines on it. So I can like align it up so I know that it's straight. Alright, what we can do is put our water and whatnot up there. Or where'd the version go? I just cropped. Oh, here it is. Themes. I want to get some more like these are just old ones I used to have. I'm not into football. So I want to get some like cuter ones. I saw some ones that look like pandas, and I was like, that sounds adorable. So I want to get some panda ones at some point. Sorry if any of you guys really love football. I'm just not that big into it. Alright. Oh no, we can still, alright, you guys can kind of see. I'll try to mix them. You guys can still see. At least what I'm mixing. Maybe we can pull this down. Alright. 55. This is good. Let me just move my checking, guys. Okay, I think we're good. Let me turn this so you guys can see. There we go. Alright, what do we want to do after we establish our lights? I think what we're going to want to do is grab some... Hold up, let me make sure. I'm so used to having so many monitors, so it's hard layering things here on my one screen. Alright, let's do... I think we want to put in some greens. Some dark greens. Because we gotta work dark to light. So I want to do better this time. Alright, let's just grab our cheaters green. And I'm thinking like warm green. Alright, that's a nice warm. Now I just need to desaturate it a little bit. Ooh, that seems good. Alright, let's just kind of block in these trees here. I think we can add a little more water. Not sure how thick I'm supposed to do this. We're getting there, guys. Little by little, we're learning how to do this. I'm just gonna block out the shapes, and then later we'll do some more detailed strokes. Really should use dirty brush. I'm such a like. This is the way I did it with my watercolors, so I don't want to change. I gotta regret that later. This palette feels better though. Let's see. Alrighty. Let's make it a little bit more green blue as we work backwards here down the tree line. I'm not going to quite reach like the reference to each other, but I do want a little down. May have made it a little too big. Shape like that. And a little bit more green here. This really makes me wish it was warmer outside. But alas, it is not. These ones almost go a little bit behind. It looks like I'm doing a 4-leaf clovers. I gotta make sure you guys can see the reference a little bit. There we go. Alright, cool. I'll layer that up a little bit more. Alright, let's get a really like. We're gonna cool this down a little. And we're gonna go in and try and like work out some shapes in the darkness. I'll move to this tree since the other one's still a little bit wet. Alright, so I'm seeing some dark shapes there. Under here. Here. And we get backwards. We get a lovely dark patch here. Still a bit wet. I think I need to be more patient. I'm used to like taking with the watercolors, you can really like drop in pigment as it's still wet. And you could do that with this, but it's much thicker, so you don't really get that spreading. It just kind of like mushes together, which gets muddy. So I definitely need to change my ways of thinking with that. Adapt how to do it. I think it's layering is going to be our best friend. We just need to get used to doing it. Also need to learn to be patient. Alright, while we wait for the greens to dry, I think we should paint in some of the bark on the trees. This would be a nice little painting I can put on that little light thing I have that hangs in the background of my other lake stream setup. I made it so like I could hang different pictures there, and this would be a nice little size to hang there. Okay, I think I'm gonna go more orange than you think with this. Oops. You know what? Let's just go all the way with this color. And then we're gonna darken it as we go. I just really like this bright like sunlight color that's hitting it. So we're just gonna layer it. That looks good. I'm hesitating to go too light just yet. I need to keep doing like mid to dark tones. Also, we need to make this a little bit more opaque and less transparent. Which means we might need to be using less water. Not necessarily add any other paint to it. It's good. Let's see what happens if we add white. Let me go this time and use my palette knife like I should be. That is pretty. I shouldn't be doing this while it's still wet. Just you have a white. Okay, I think that's the play. At this point, but we need to wait for it to dry. I think we can start moving back to the leaves. I'm gonna go a little darker, but like do a warm dark. Let me show you guys. Grab. I'll just use this here. A little bit of this red. That's nice. Like that. A little more red. I'm gonna put this around. I like our transition. It's dark, but it's not like a cool blue dark. We can add a little more texture in here. We're also gonna bring out some of the texture of the leaves when we go in with the blue. I'm not gonna go too crazy. Just yet on that. I'm gonna have to lighten up some of the centers there. Like this is actually, this area in here gets pretty white. Not white, bright. I'm gonna do that. Overall, like a pretty warm shot. So using our warm yellows is a good way to go. Part of what I didn't like about acrylic paints is I would have such trouble getting my like lighter shades to look really like stark enough in value, but like not necessarily like mixed with white. And so I feel like I'm having a similar problem with gouache. I think I need to trust the process, which is so hard when I don't know the process. But we're gonna do what we can do. Try not to get too Bob Rossy here on these trees. I'm trying to match some of the leaves there. All right. Oh no, I just washed my brush and I shouldn't have done that. It's okay. It's not too dirty. I'll get some clean in a little bit. Let's do. I want to add in the sky, which is pretty darn bright. Let's go in with a fair amount of white. And I'm thinking like this cobalt, get blue here. See how that looks once we mix it. That's about right. Not sure I want to add anything. My water was a little muddied down. I think that actually helped. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Let's go with that. I need to be careful though. How close we get here. We're gonna use these blues. I like that texture is coming through. I think I can thin this out a little bit. Just gonna reshape these a little bit. Oh shoot. No, I think we're good. I might need to take off this again. Otherwise, we're gonna get white paint all over it. And it's one of my favorite ones, and I see that. Oh, I like how the background shade is kind of like making it like a green blue. I feel like it's giving that like California color skyline, you know what I mean? Let's do this. The one comes in like this. I also have a more like detailed brush that I might pull out in a bit when we get into doing more of reshaping these. We have this one here. It's a nice like pointed brush. I'm thinking we might be using that and do those details. Blue. Like, don't waste any paint. Lighten it up a little. Honestly, it's taking longer to dry than I thought it would. Like, it's still a bit like glossy here. I don't know if you guys can tell. Like, interesting. Good to know. It's gonna be good for my patience. I have to wait and watch paint dry. This side. Good. I think it's starting to look. It's starting to look like actual palm trees. That we were having a moment where it's looking a bit like clovers. I was thinking about St. Patrick's Day. But the St. Patrick's Day duck we were working on the other week, guys, turned out so good. It looks so cute. I can't wait to try and like make a calendar with all the ducks we do this year. Since we're getting all the holidays. But this actually needs to be filled in just a wee bit more. Then through here. I wasn't gonna go crazy with filling these in just yet, but I just want to establish some of those shapes before we get too far into this. I definitely think it was a win doing something smaller today. Otherwise, we use a lot of paint. Alright, we need more. It's getting too thin. Oops. Okay. We got this. Mine it was a little bit. Underneath, I think we need to come up like this. And here. And I think I'm just going to bring this up a little bit. And cut this off here a little. I think I made it too long. Okay, we gotta reshape this one a little bit. In there. There we go. This one up here. Honestly, this is what I love about oil. So it's fun that I can actually do this with something that's not the oil. I can have a little bit more control over reshaping it. Being able to pull these light colors back out. So nice. Alright, we almost got it filled. Surprised it's actually staying pretty flat. Here we get this right. I was gonna pull out some more like darker blues, I think. So we layer this up. For now, I think this is a nice start on the blues. Oh, stop mixing in there. I'm not used to this whole two different things from water. Live and learn. Live and learn. Okay. We need to let it dry, which would probably be a good opportunity for me to go fix the water I just polluted. Guys, I'll be right back. And fix the water problem. BRB. Okay, we're back. Got the fresh water. Kind of thinking I need to maybe... I gotta think this out before we make next steps. I think I need to change brushes. I think we've done enough big washes and we need to start being a little bit more like decisive with where we're placing things, less blocking in such large shapes. Where did I stick my phone? I would like to get some like midish tones in. Yes. I think I'm gonna go with like this lighter yellow. I'm gonna mix it with this green we had here. See if we can layer some of these in. Up in the branches. Let's start with the far left tree. Yeah. That. I think what's hard with these is that when they're wet, they're very like glossy, and so I have a hard time seeing. I think I need to tilt it. You guys still see properly if I hold it like that. Working with it flat is not working for me. I was also thinking while I was getting the water, I was like, anytime I paint, like in digital now or with watercolors, I'm usually using like a round brush. And that could be part of like what feels a little awkward. I was using like this square. Not that that should really make a big difference, like your brush, but I do realize there is one difference, you know? Some like subtle things where I'm like, maybe that's why it's taking me some time to get used to this. Alright, let's move down to this one. I need to bring this out a little bit here. I wonder what would happen if we added a little just a wee bit. Still really wet here. I think I might have went a little heavy there. Like, if we use a little white, I wonder if it'll help with like the opacity. Okay. This one. I might have to reshape this a little bit. Okay. It's a bit darker down here. It's getting like, it's pretty much like brownish. A lot of our highlights, so I'm gonna start moving into like browns rather than greens. Alright, I think we're getting there. Let's do the tree trunks. We need to address those. We need some browns in here. If that'll work. And then we're gonna need a little bit of red. This red's gonna be our best bet. See how this looks. We mix it together. Might have to add some more blue in here. Actually, I think that's nice. We're just gonna go in and add a little bit of texture. Go bottom up, maybe. Pin this down. Definitely just smeared paint all over my phone. Guess I was a character. The abuse. This poor thing. Actually, no. I've been really good about my phone night. I saw this video of this lady was painting, and she had like everything set up where she's gonna make like a cute little like aesthetic painting video. And she had her laptop, she was holding it in her left hand, and she had her paintbrush in the other one, and she spilled her like whole like rinse water all over it. I was like, oh my gosh, that would literally be me. She said her laptop was fine though. Like, hey. Okay, so we kind of get like I'm just gonna kind of like pretend I know exactly what this texture looks like. It's pretty organic. Get a little more wet. But I don't want it to be too dark. Break up this edge a little bit. It's a bit dark, but I'm gonna layer like a in between tone. I think it's gonna be okay. Like a little bit. Some back here, since we're moving backwards a bit. So it feels more like it's in the background. There's some more like deeper red browns I'm seeing up in the tops of the palm trees. Like that would be kind of pretty to put in there. Then we get this weird like yeah, we need to lighten this anyway, so that doesn't look bad. I think we're getting there. It's almost like the one in the back. Actually, a bit more on the red side. The saturation, weird, comes out more further away in this photo. For now, seems nice. A little more red and saturate a little bit more up in here. I think what we're have to do is the branches absolutely last. Alright, let's go in with like a tan. Like slightly more yellow. And try and do some of the like dead branches. They're not really dead, but a bit more in the in this. Some white. You know, this is probably gonna go in pretty subtly. So maybe we just hit it with this. We got branch here, doing bright. And we get one under here. One in here. This will darken a bit. Might go in with a darker brown after this. Add a little bit yellow in here. Let's move back. More here. Alright, we don't want to go crazy. I'm trying to do like block in light sources here. A fair amount of light hitting this one here. A little bit down here at these points. Let's add a little of this in on the bark over top of what we added in. I'm gonna add a little more white. Make it a little bit less transparent. This back one's getting a fair amount of shadow from the other bit. We're getting in here, there. And then our browns. Seems like it gets a little bit darker, so we're gonna want to switch. Alright, let's lighten this up. That kind of looks as it goes on thicker. I think I need to do a little bit more like that style-wise. Seems like it's working. Alright, we need to go back in with our blues. A bit brighter than I originally had. Once we have the blues in, it kind of helps us balance things out a little bit. Our tree's a little too bad here. Need to thin that down. And then we might go in with a darker. Let me get some of this paint out of this brush. We're gonna come back to that. Alright, I think I will mix slightly less. Well, you know what? Let's see how this looks. I think I need to make sure I spend more time getting the paint on my brush. I think we're gonna want... I'm gonna grab this blue. I'm also gonna grab a little bit of my brush at this point. Let's try it a little bit. Just darken it up a little bit. This is more like a warmer blue. I'm gonna do this pretty big. I think that's gonna be the play here. I made a mess of my brush. Put a little bit more blue in here. This might be too light, but we're gonna see. We need to get it on lighter before we... I don't love the way I've shaped out this area here. It's not 100% how I'm seeing it. Do it thicker towards the center. And do it thinner as we work outwards. Yeah, I think that's covering up the mistakes underneath. Alright, while we're doing this, I think this is gonna help give us some time to let that lighter shade I put in dry on the branches. That definitely needs to dry up a bit before I can layer in some more. I think I'm gonna go in with some browns then. Ever so slightly tap. There we go. Like we're going through a lot of paint. Like, is this normal? Let's remember, it's not watercolors. Alright, that looks good. Still a lot of paint on my brush, so I think it's layering it okay. Just need to work a little bit quicker. And we are limited to how fast we work. You know, if we don't get it done, we don't get it done. But I don't want the sun to get too low that I can't see as well. Which happened last time. It was like really overcast this morning, so I didn't think we were going to be able to do this today. But then the sun came out. I was like, alright, we're doing it. I was really happy about because I actually really wanted to work on this. Look, I want to use my paint. Alrighty. It's looking pretty good. I want to mix a dark. I want to get a little bit darker actually in the greens and like these dark spaces before I go in with the brown. I just feel like I want to push it just a little bit darker before we really commit to that. Because these trees are kind of like our focal point too. Well, not more like kind of, they're literally the star players. And so we need to get a little bit more definition in them. Let's go with this blue. I haven't used this yet. And then go with our Peter's green. And just a tiny bit of red. In case I want it to be a little bit darker. Might be desaturated a little. That looks lovely. Maybe we go with this cooler color. Alright, so we've got dark here and behind here. And then a big section. I'm gonna add a little bit of the red. Yeah, this is nice and dark. And what I was hoping for. We need a little bit of water though. A little darkness here. But the paint's too big, it's not coming off my brush. Very different than watercolor. Okay. I'm getting this shape in here. I think at the very, very end, we have the values and everything right. That's when we'll go in and we'll do a little bit more detail work. We're not quite there. Make this all dark, and then we're gonna go on with some blues later. Kind of reshape that. There. That is good. I don't want it to feel like they're too disconnected. It is all one. I'm trying to like mask these together a little bit better. Alright, on this one, we go darker here. And here. Reshape this one a little bit. We need to put some blue in there. This one we get greenish. It's much darker. A dark mask here. I'll block that out. I kind of want to go with like a dark brown now. Look at this. All right, I think we're on the right track. Brush. All right, let's go back to our white and blues and reestablish. We're gonna paint some of these little spaces there. Here. Here. This is where I started to have fun because I like doing details. Yeah, that looks good. Good. Just a tiny bit up in here. Up. I'm gonna drop in the pigment. I think that's how it'll work. Headed in the right direction. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the clouds, guys. I might just leave them out because they're really like they're really wispy. I'm not sure they would even read very well in low detail like this. We're not doing a super realistic version. This one definitely needs a lot of light added into it. Okay, now this shape in here. Oops. That was definitely still really wet when I put that on. That's okay. It'll dry. Now I'm gonna get a little in here as well. This is a bit. This needs to come down. put these little details. Looks so nice. This in here is a little bit bigger than it needed to be, but we're gonna put in greens again later. I'm also gonna reshape this one. Leave it back here. A little blue in here. Just ever so slightly right here. And I think I took this out a little too much. Alright, I think we need to now work on the bark again. So we can lighten that up. So let's grab white. A little bit more. Oh, almost dropped it. Just trying to get our brush strokes in so they look kind of like the texture, the bark. It's still a bit wet. Oops. I might go in with a saturated color later, perhaps. Just do a little more color in the textured part. But like make it a little bit lighter. I feel like I did those a bit too dark. I wasn't sure how like light they were gonna end up drying, and it did not dry as light as I was thinking it would. Live and learn. A little bit more saturation in here. Alright. Looks pretty good. Alright, now let's go in with those browns that I've been talking about adding, but I never did. To leave be a little bit light. I think we need instead of that like golden yellow I've been using, let's try using a little bit transparent. I think this is going to give us what I'm looking for. Like in between tone. Hold up. Let me sit up straight. You're going to be looking more straight down on this. So let's add. I think we need to go even more yellow, less green. And we're gonna add this. And I think we might end up wanting some white. A little in case we want. Yeah, I feel like this is actually better. We're gonna want some white though. Alright, let's put this in. Mostly it hits the tips. They change color just a little bit. The sunlight hits it. We can also put in the branches now a little bit. Put this one there. We do need to be careful though, because our blues are just a bit wet still. That's looking nice. We're gonna go even lighter, I think. This dries, but it's a good in-between tone we can add. For introducing some more of these mid-tones. I can keep my arms out of the paint. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this yellow. But it just gives it a nice lively shade. I'm gonna add a little bit in here on the start. Nice saturation to it. That's looking pretty good. This one is actually pretty bright here. This one, a lot of highlight in here. There. Like all the leaves are kind of just going every which way. I'm trying to get it to look relatively organic. I feel like humans have a tendency to be perfectionists, so we can be a bit like always trying to make everything look perfect, and that's why I always have trouble with trees. But I'm getting better at it, but still that tendency where I want it to look perfect, but that ends up ruining it. It really want it to look natural, and nature is very imperfect. That. Last one's here. Alright, we need some cooler or darker ones. I'm gonna have to pull out different shades here. Orange. Add some more white. We're just gonna do a little bit on the bark here. I just went a little too crazy with the dark. We're just gonna tap in these lighter sections. This one actually needs a little bit wider. I'm going to use a bit more color. Just to separate this back edge. There we go. This red looks nice. More. Just a wee bit of red. I would tend to go a little overboard, and it's hard to get back where you want it to be. Our shadowed area is light. White is shadowed as I had before. Our branches through. Highlight this a bit more. Right. Got a lot more red up here. Just quick tap this in. To get like a deeper saturation up here where it meets the leaves. And I feel like that lovely contrast between the greens and the red looks really nice. Okay, now I need to get some like red browns. Just do a little bit more of these red leaves. I want to do darker. A little bit of it. Quite dark enough. In here in this one. I think I want to start with this back one. And the most. These sort of browns as like a mid-tone. I just feel like it gives a little bit more dimension. They do kind of go from like green to like brown. And then we get like that tan. I don't see it as much on this one here. Alright guys, we've got a couple more minutes left on stream. feel like we did pretty good today. Much better than we did last time. I feel like I'm getting the hang of this a little bit better. Definitely not ready to take on any like ginormous gouache projects, but we're getting there, you know? Do that. We need more. I almost wonder if we took like put that over here and we did like a purple blue red color and just really hit these dark areas so that we can use a little bit of color theory to give this some dimension. Like the final details. Wash that up before. Add some in here as well. Actually looks nice. Actually looks good. And the thing is, like, as long as the values are right, you can get a little bit crazy. I'll lighten this up. I think I just want to add like finished highlights on the bark there, just a little bit. Hold up, let me check. Okay. Just a little bit. Alright, what color did I have on? I'll do that. Grab this yellow. Give me a very brightest highlight. And a wee bit of this. Just keep the paint really thick. This one ended up a little dark in the back. Probably shouldn't have done that, but it's okay. A little bit in here. Revive these light colors. A little bit more yellow. It's still a little bit wet, but I think we can blend it out. Okay. Guys, we could have probably gone even brighter on the highlights on the leaves on the tree eventually. But it's not bad the way it is. Definitely a little variation from our reference. That's not always a horrible thing. I feel like I want to touch this area with a bit bit more color though. It's pretty bright there in the reference. Alright, we better call it on this since it's getting so late. And the sun's starting to get lower. Guys, we came, solved, and conquered. All I need to do is sign it. Wait. I've gotten bad where like I'm not always good about signing it, but I realize I need to get back to doing it. Where should I put this signature? Usually it's like bottom right, but I don't like the way that that's gonna like cover up the trees. What if we just turn it and like write it along here? Or yeah, I think that's good. Let's grab a blue. A bit thicker than I normally write it, but oops. Guys, can you tell I'm dyslexic? I drew my C backwards. This is fine. No one's good at this. Boom. Alright, make sure my brushes are properly clean. Guys, we did good today. I feel like we did a lot better. Let me show you guys the one we did. This is what we did last week. I didn't show you guys. I did work on this once after the stream. So we did those pretty palm trees. Hey, Rose. We just catching the end. We did a lot better today with the gouache paints. And we did these palm trees, which turned out pretty good. I kind of like the illustration like style it has. But this is the one we did last week, and it just did not. I was a little bit too timid, and then I ended up not like putting on the paint as thick as I should have. I was treating it a little too much like watercolors. I've been watching for a while. Oh, that's okay. That's okay, Rose. You don't have to chat. You're allowed to lurk. I'm a lurker too. But yeah, we did it. But my room's starting to get dark, so I'm like, I need to call it on stream. I can't see. But yeah, not terrible. Hold up a little closer for you guys to see the details. That's where I added in the red. I think that added like a fun, a little bit more like dynamics. I don't know. The flowers are also amazing. Thank you. There is, let me show you the reference. I think they look decent on their own, right? Like, hey, that's not terrible. That's not bad. But then if you look at the reference, I picked a reference that was way too ambitious. So that was kind of a mistake on my part. Let me show you. Here's the reference. See how much like color variation there is, as well as like dark and light. Trying to like balance those for the first time was very difficult. So not terrible, but not quite. So today I was like, all right, guys, we gotta be like, I'm still learning how to use these paints. We gotta be more selective, and so doing something a little bit more straightforward like this was a better way to practice getting used to the kind of like the process. Where did I put? Oh, here it is. I kind of messed up the blue paint here. Hold on, let me fix this. Got a little smudge in there. Touch up the corners. I feel a little bit more comfortable with them today. We're getting there. Now the song. I feel like I have to keep adjusting my sound just a little bit. You did such a good job. I like your version more. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it. Alrighty. So guys, we finished it. We did it. We're gonna be back next week. I'm not gonna be streaming tomorrow. I know I normally do Friday, but you all haven't heard or have been living under a rock. Tomorrow, BTS drops their album, and I want to have their album on loop all day while I work, and so I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. It's also pretty much like an international holiday for me at this point, so I'm kind of like, I'm not taking the day off, but yeah, Rose is excited. Rose is Army too. Let's go. But yeah, but I will be back the following week, right? Yes, I will be. Paint them. That's a bit ambitious. But I am planning, Rose, to do some portrait drawing on stream. And then maybe after I warm up and get better at portraits, we can do some BTS portraits. But I don't like to draw like portraits of family members or like anyone not that I know BTS, but I really I look up to them, and I don't want to do terrible portraits of them just because it feels wrong. So I have to wait until I'm good enough. So until then, we're gonna be drawing like either self portraits, because I don't care if I make myself look terrible, and then also just like random people I find on Pinterest, because I don't know them. So true, makes sense. Yeah, but we'll get there. I do have in my one sketchbook, I've done some like portraits a long time ago. I think I did like one or two of you, Rose. I have one of Mom. I did one of Joe. I think I did two of Grace. I think I did one of Sarah. But they all didn't turn out right. And after that, I was like, I'm done drawing family members. But I want to get good again, so that's part of like my 2026 goal. Get good at portraits again, because they're really fun, and I feel like they make good gifts for people, and I want to be able to gift people more art this year. So, but anyway, guys, thank you again everybody for tuning in. Rose, it was nice that you lurked. Thank you for lurking, and I will see you guys. Oops, I just smudged it. Alright, I'm gonna stop touching this. I'm gonna see you guys next week, and I'm gonna let these paints dry. Everyone, have a nice weekend, and make it through Friday. Everybody also listen to BTS's album. If you're into like pop type music, I think you might enjoy it. Rose, thank you again. I'm terrible at saying goodbye. Oh, Gecko, hey! We're just ending stream. I'm sorry. I was doing my long, like, end of stream talk. We painted, with gouache today. We did some palm trees. What? Sorry you couldn't make it earlier. That's okay. Not a problem. Maybe as the sun, like, it's slowly staying up longer, so I could probably do longer streams at some point. But, you know, we're still waiting for... The days are slowly getting longer, but it's like kind of going towards setting now, and my camera does make it look brighter than it is, but it is getting a little bit dark in here for me to be able to like paint and see the colors properly. So looks really good, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I had a lot easier. I'll show you a little bit closer. I had a lot better of a time layering the paints than I did when we worked on this one. I think I was thinning out the paints too much. I was telling Rose that I was thinning them out too much, and with gouache paints you're supposed to use them thicker. And so I did that today, and you can see that they layered really nicely. We're getting there, you know? The process still feels a little like awkward. Like I'm still getting used to it, but it's fun. But guys, I'm getting really hungry. Gecko, I'm sorry that I'm I'm leaving right as you arrive. But I was just telling Rose also I won't be streaming tomorrow, but I'm gonna be back next week. So I'll catch you guys next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.